It is the first day of my annual leave, and my original plan was that I was going to spend the day reading, and I planned to spend the day reading Midwinter Murder by Agatha Christie. I got this book from my parents last Christmas, and I just didn't have time to read it before January, and it just felt like it was a December read. So I put it to the side and it was to be read this December. But I actually forgot that I had plans for today. So I have my hat on, I'm getting ready to get picked up, and I'm going to go on what my friend and I are referring to as a Nana's day out, because we're going off to a farm shop which is only like 20 miles away from Aberdeen, and we're gonna go and have lunch and buy cheese. I can't eat cheese, but I'm gonna buy it. Um, and just have a really nice time looking around the farm shop and basically have a big catch up, because both of us are starting our festive break today. And yeah, I think it's gonna be really fun. And then when I come back, I'm gonna do some reading. But for now, I'm getting ready to go out and get some cheese. I am back, and as I arrived back home, who should be waiting for me on my window ledge but the cat who lives next door. So he was waiting to get in. I don't know if it'll get picked up by the microphone, but just in case it does, he is on my bed, like there, purring away and being the happiest little man, because he's back in the house where he does not live. So I went out today, I got a Christmas lunch. It was delicious. I'm still very full. And we went and looked at all of the sort of, most of it was local produce, some of it was not. It was just really fun to sort of look at the tasty treats that were on offer and get some little bits and bobs for Christmas, because, well, I finished all of my Christmas shopping and so is my friend. So we were mainly just shopping for ourselves and getting nice tasty things for the future. So that's always lovely. And then I got home and I did make a start on my book. I am now on chapter 4. I'm about to start chapter 4. Finished 3 chapters of Midwinter Murder. So that's about a quarter of the way through the book. And so far I am really enjoying it. I was quite nervous because I'm a very big Agatha Christie fan. I have read a whole lot of Agatha Christie books, and I've seen a whole lot of Agatha Christie TV adaptations. And I was really worried that I would know all of the stories in this book, because the chances are high that I've read the short stories in another collection. And when I started reading this, the first story was a Poirot that I knew. I knew it, and it's a good Poirot, and it's one I really enjoy because it's sort of early Poirot, like it's a flashback to early Poirot. And I do love the story, but I was a bit worried that I was going to know the rest of them. But those doubts left me when I got to story number 2, which was a Marple, and I did not know that story. And then story number 3, which was neither Marple nor Poirot, I did not know that one either. I'm really enjoying that. Despite the fact that I read a lot of Agatha Christie, I can find stories that are new to me or that I maybe have read and forgotten. So that's really enjoyable. And I'm really looking forward to reading I think I've got 9 stories left. I will get some more reading done this evening. I am going to have a really cozy night. I ate far too much today. I mean, 'tis the season, but oh, I feel like I could burst. So I'm gonna put on something stretchy and make some wailing noises for a little bit and read more of my book and pat the cat because clearly he missed me. And I will report back tomorrow. I am now just over halfway through Midwinter Murder. I have read 7 of the chapters, 7 or 8. I've read 7 or 8 of the 12 and I'm really enjoying it so far. There are a few stories that I am familiar with that I have read in previous short story collections, because I mean that's the risk, that isn't it? That's the risk when I am a big Agatha Christie fan. I read a lot of Agatha Christie books and short story collections. The chances of a collection coming out that's filled with stories I don't know is pretty slim. I mean, that would be great if one came out that I didn't know any of. So far, I have been familiar with 4 of the stories that I've read so far. Being familiar with these stories isn't necessarily a bad thing. They are stories that I've enjoyed before and I will enjoy again, especially now that I have this sort of festive collection of them. I'm excited to read the next 5 or 4, I don't remember, stories over the rest of the day. But first, we are going out for lunch because my boyfriend and I, we're both off work now for the rest of the year, and we really want to go to the Christmas market and get some chips and some bratwurst. So we decided that we were going to do that today. That was our Friday activity. We've got a few little boring errands to run. Our plan is to go in, get all our things done, have an early lunch because we have got a Christmas meal this evening. I'm trying to fit so much into one day. And then my plan between coming home and the meal is finish my book. It's a good plan. I have faith in myself. So gonna go and do that. I finished it just in time to go get ready to go out for Christmas dinner with my in-laws. And oh, do you know what? It was so good. It was what I wanted. What I wanted was a cozy murder mystery collection. It sort of made me feel a little bit festive because I have been struggling to feel festive. And I don't think that this collection made me feel overly festive. There's a bit too much pressure to put on a collection called Midwinter, but I kind of hoped it would make me feel a little bit festive, but that's okay. It did give me cozy mysteries though. More mystery than murder mystery. And I don't know what it says about me, but I actually would have preferred more murder mystery. Is that a bad thing? But I did enjoy the mystery elements of it. There were 12 stories in total. Of the 12 stories, I had either read or was familiar with 8 of them. But I completely acknowledge that I have read many an Agatha Christie collection, many collections of short stories, of mysteries, cozy mysteries. So I feel like the chances were high that I was going to have read at least some of them. And I mean, 8 did seem a bit high, but the stories I'd read before, I'd enjoyed before and I enjoyed them again. The first few stories in this book were very, very wintry, very cozy. There were fires, there was snow, and it was very, this is winter. Get feeling wintry. But then the rest of the stories didn't feel overly wintry. They were enjoyable. I had a great time reading them, but I don't think I felt that they were necessarily all midwinter. And I suppose I would have liked to have a few more of the stories definitely mention winter, mention the cold, maybe put on a glove, something to make me feel like this is definitely a winter collection. And I didn't overly get that you know, from story 4 onwards. But it was a good solid collection, and I had a good time reading them. And it's such a short collection too. It's only 240 pages. And I feel like Agatha Christie books really are a quick read. I know this took me a little bit of time to get through, but I was busy. I was doing fun Christmassy things. So I think if I hadn't had my Nana's day out yesterday and my festive lunch today, that I would have had this finished in a day. But I am happy to have savoured it. I actually think that spreading the book out over a couple of days really made it more enjoyable for me, and it let me sort of digest each story. And what I did really like about this book is that Agatha Christie has a lot of, you know, beloved characters. I'm a Poirot girl. I'm also a Miss Marple girl. But this book actually had a sort of mix. So there were Poirot stories, there were Marple stories, there were Quinn stories and Parker Pyne, as well as Tommy and Tuppence, and a few sort of standalones. So it was really nice having that sort of collection and mixture, because I wasn't overly familiar with the Mr. Quinn stories. So those were the ones that were completely new to me, and that was really enjoyable to find something in a sort of collection that is so beloved to me, to still be finding new things. So that was great. So I'm really glad to have gotten this finished. I've had this book for a long time, and I never got a chance to shine because I couldn't commit to reading it in a seasonally appropriate time, so I had to wait. And I'm glad I managed to get it read before Christmas this year. And while it didn't make me feel festive, it did make me feel a little bit cozy. There's something in the sort of classic mystery genre that just sort of gives me, not the warm and fuzzies, because I mean they're often about terrible crimes, but there's something about them that I find really comforting. And I think it's possibly because in these kind of books, you know that the baddie is going to get caught, and that, you know, good will prevail. And I feel like that's something that I really enjoy, especially when I'm sort of wanting something cozy. I want to know that that bad guy is going to get caught. And I do feel like this included quite a few sort of misdirects, which I think my favourite Agatha Christie books have red herrings. They have the baddie hidden in plain sight, and those are my favourite ones. And there were a couple in here. One of my favourite short stories actually was in this book, which was it was good to be able to reread that, because I haven't read it in a good while. And it was The Plymouth Express. It only exists as a short story, and I haven't read it recently, so it was really nice to sort of be reunited with it in this collection. One of the things that sort of not annoyed me, but almost disappointed me, oh, that actually sounds worse, was that two of the stories in this book were almost in this book, which I read this month. But it wasn't the exact same story. They were almost sort of a different point of view from stories in this book. So I suppose that was maybe not disappointing. That was maybe a good thing, to get another side of what was going on at that time, a more sort of well-rounded view of those events. I just find it was really weird at the beginning to sort of be reading it going, I've just read this. I hadn't just read it. I've read another story with the same people in the same location, but from a different viewpoint. So I actually think that was probably a good thing. Not disappointing at all. I finished this book a little bit earlier than I expected to. I was thinking I was going to read this all the way up until Christmas Eve, which means I now have another whole day to read. So I have one more short story collection of Christmassy murder mysteries. They might not be murder, might just be mysteries. And my plan is I'm going to read them tomorrow. I have absolutely no plans for tomorrow other than doing nothing, or as little as possible. I might make a charcuterie board just for me. I think I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to read. So while I finish this book, I do have another one to feature in this vlog, which I didn't think I was going to get to. It's like a bonus book. I'm going to go and finish getting ready to go out for my Christmas dinner, and I need to move the cat. He needs to go outside because he doesn't live here, and he's tucked up in a blanket on my bed. He lives next door. He can't be in while we're out. Wish me luck. Happy Christmas Eve. It is Saturday, the 24th of December, and I have finished one more book. I finished Christmas is Murder by Val McDermid, which is another Festive short story collection. And each story is somewhat related to Christmas or winter. And it very much, in a contrast to the last short story collection set in winter, this one really did feel a bit more wintry. There were some stories that I wasn't aware of the wintry setting, but for the vast majority of them, they at least felt chilly. So that's all I'm looking for in a winter themed collection, is that I want it to be wintry themed. I actually thought that this was my first Val McDermid book because I wasn't aware of having read any of her other books. However, I have actually read some of her short stories before. I had read A Wife in a Million, and I read that absolutely ages ago, and it's a short story that had really stuck with me and had made me sort of get a bit of a fear going in the supermarket when I was younger. So it was really nice being able to sort of identify the author of a story that really chilled me many years ago. So that was lovely. That was like a little gift to myself from the bookish fates. The rest of these stories I did really like. Every story involved mystery. Not every story involved murder mystery, but a vast majority of them did. And it turned out that that is what I was wanting. That's what I wanted from my last festive short story collection of 2022. I was quite surprised that there were no weak links in this collection. I didn't think there were any stories that I would have been happy to have not read. And I feel like that's quite rare for short story collections, for them all to be equally strong. But I think they were. I really enjoyed this collection. It was such a quick read. I started it last night and I finished it this evening. It did take me a little bit longer than I thought it would, but it was worth it. The stories really made me think. They made me very suspicious of everyone, and I really liked the way that I was kind of kept guessing. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I didn't know, because I'm not overly familiar with this author, I didn't really know what to expect, and I was just utterly impressed. There's a reason they're super popular and famous and sell lots of books. It's because they're very good. I also feel like every single story was very different. While they were all mystery and were murdery, they were all very different. The characters were all very different. Sometimes there would be nods back to characters from other stories, and I really enjoyed that, because while I don't know a lot of this author's repertoire, it was really nice to sort of get those nods and be like, ah, yes, I know them. I only know them from the story I read about them earlier. But I like that everything was sort of intertwined when it was supposed to be intertwined, and I thought that was so utterly clever. There were a lot of stories as well that my favourite sort of murder mysteries are tales of revenge. Yes, I had to think about it there. Yes, revenge. Or chaos. Chaos or revenge. Either works. And there were a few stories in this book that were chaotic in the best kind of way, and I loved it. Loved those stories. I think they would be my favourite ones, the ones with the revenge angle. That and A Wife in a Million. Those were my favourites. So I mean, I can't pick a favourite. I've got like 3 or 4 favourites. And yeah, absolutely delighted. I'm so glad I was able to squeeze this collection in before Christmas, and end this vlog on a high. I'm delighted. I will definitely be trying to get my hands on more books by Val McDermid. She's a very popular Scottish author. My library often has quite a lot of them, so that's something to think about for 2023. And I have been trying to think of my reading goals for next year. Not super sure what I'm going to go with because, in all honesty, I've been utterly overwhelmed just trying to finish work for the year that I've barely thought about what I want to read next year. So I know I want to read books that I already own because, well, my book buying ban is not going well. And I would like to make my way through some more of the books that I already own, because then I can buy more books because I'll have space to put them somewhere. But for now, I don't really have the space. I'm always happy to receive any recommendations, so if you have any recommendations for books that you think I should add to my reading goals for next year, please let me know. Other than that, there is nothing left to do but to wish you a very Merry Christmas. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, or if you are not watching this at Christmas, then have a very happy whatever day this is. Thank you for watching. Bye!